Well, joining us now is Julia Manchester with The Hill. Julia, between what we just heard with domestic terror and Eric's reporting and also lawmakers tossing around ideas on gun violence, what's your sense, what's your read based on your reporting?
You know, I think for now we're still seeing a lot of partisanship in this area, and it's kind of what happens after every mass shooting in the United States. There's a lot of blowback from Democrats saying this problem is about guns, while Republicans and the NRA go on the offensive saying there's more to this, like mental health, or we've heard video games as another excuse. So this is definitely going to become politicized in the coming days, but you're seeing some movement among Republicans on the issues of red flag warnings or maybe some strict gun control. So Senator Susan Collins, who is facing a tough re-election bid in 2020, has actually come out in favor of closing a gun show loophole for background checks. So that'll be a major turning point if Republicans ever get on board. The problem with that is they're very much beholden to the National Rifle Association. You know, a couple of months ago, I believe there's a clip of an NRA spokesman essentially saying on TV, I believe it was a spokesman saying, if Cory Gardner, who also faces a tough re-election bid, very vulnerable seat, yes, if he supports the red flag law, we'll get a primary challenger for him. So it's very political, unfortunately, right now.
And a lot of 2020 Democrats, they're pointing to President Trump. We saw Beto O'Rourke there. Julia, what is the political calculus here, and could we see this backfire on Democrats?
Well, I think what you're hearing Democrats saying right now is nothing new. I think this is a reaction you would expect from them. I think for Beto O'Rourke in particular, and even for Tim Ryan from Ohio, these took place in their home states. For Beto O'Rourke, his hometown. So obviously their responses are very emotional and they're understandably very angry. However, going into a general election, I think they're probably on more of a right path in terms of where voters are, because I think there have been studies shown saying that Republicans aren't necessarily getting the right calculus as to where the majority of voters are on gun control. I mean, I think there are, a lot of voters are in favor of some sort of background checks or a little more restrictions than there currently are.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has gotten into some trouble in the past for her remarks about President Trump and white nationalism. You know, a lot of the narrative now, Julia, does seem to be heading in that direction. Your thoughts?
Yes, you're actually seeing it quite a bit in that direction. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that sometimes when President Trump is tied to these white nationalist groups, whether it's them trying to tie themselves to him or other politicians, he doesn't necessarily come out and condemn it in a very forceful way. It's kind of when he's kind of forced to do it is when he does it. He doesn't do this voluntarily necessarily. So that's playing into it, and it's the fact that some of the people who he associates with are somewhat controversial. It's kind of easy bait for Democrats to kind of say, look at that. Clearly some sign of white nationalism.
Right. Well, Julia Manchester, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Julia.